Hello, I'm here with Hailey Niswanger, one of the most prolific musicians to come out of the Portland area, in my opinion. She's a Berkeley grad, Downbeat Critic polls Rising Star for 9 years in a row. Wow. That was for your solo projects, MAE SUN and Confetti, and a multi-instrumentalist powerhouse who's contributed to musical projects from everyone to Esperanza Spalding to Beyonce. So I personally got in contact with Hailey after seeing her at her most recent tour with Clairo, the bedroom pop superstar. And she will be playing her annual MAE SUN Solstice show at Mississippi Studios on the 21st. Thanks for calling with me today. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you have like anything you want to say about your solstice show before we get started? Because I've just kind of brought that up.
For
Or,
sure. Yeah. I feel it's just like we enter these dark days, right?
Mhm,
When the sun sets so early, and I just love coming together in community during these times. I love
mhm,
to like bring people together and to like celebrate the return of the light, the return of the sun,
mhm,
as my moniker is May Sun as my artist name.
mhm,
Um, Yeah, the whole premise in creating this, other name was that like the music is so much more than me. And it's about community. It's about our connection with the cosmos and the earth. And so just to have like a regular engagement of that year after year and a home for that at Mississippi Studios has been really special. Um, we've really, over the past 3 years, been honing in on my last album of music, volume three that came out in July.
mhm.
But this year, I've been writing some new music that I'm excited to try out for the first time, which will be really fun because I feel like I've been just really, getting into the groove with a certain repertoire of music. And now to enter that space of like exploration and trying things out is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to sharing that night with the Portland community. And Peter Knudsen and Lowe's Steel will be opening the show. They're going by Pete and Lowe, which is cute.
Okay,
So it should be a fun night.
that's cool. Yeah, that's so great. I love that you have that whole like. I feel like sometimes whenever I talk to artists, they'll just be like, "Yeah, I don't know, I'm just doing it for whatever." And like, I guess it makes me
Just,
money.
just like what I do.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, whatever. But I'm so glad that you have that lovely little story to go along with it. That's really touching. I guess going off of that, as an instrumentalist, I know you were kind of trained, like you went to Berkeley, and so start feeling like you could arrange your own, like make your own stuff, because I feel like a lot of times when you are mainly an instrumentalist, it can kind of feel like you get stuck like playing for other people. Uh,
For sure.
so like what kind of drove you to start making your own stuff?
I definitely credit a lot of teachers that pushed me at a younger age, and I started on piano and started like becoming a multi-instrumentalist like pretty young. It was like piano at 5, clarinet at 8, saxophone at 10, added accordion and flute, and then some other instruments came along. But
So
I kind of already started to have this mindset of thinking beyond just my own instrument because I started to play other instruments.
sure.
Um, and I would say, when I really got into writing like my first time, like being like, whoa, I wrote a song, was when I went to the Berklee College of Music summer camp program. And I
Mhm,
had this teacher named Terry Lynn Carrington, who's an amazing jazz drummer.
mhm.
And she pushed me to write a song, and she loved it so much that after the camp finished, she wrote me an email like months later and said she played it on one of her gigs. And I was like,
Whoa.
whoa, what? You just played like one of my first songs on one of your gigs? And I was like,
Awesome.
whoa, that was really inspiring for me. And yeah, then at home, I had some great Portland community teachers that nurtured that as well for me. And writing became started to become like a part of my identity as a musician. And I really feel that like for any aspiring musicians, even if you're just like trying to find your sound in improvisation or, just a great way to do that is by writing music, right? Because when you improvise, you're writing music on the fly, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So to sit down and take some time to intentionally craft that and find sounds that you like, I think is really important for that, the whole total development of an artist. You really just have to do it, and as
yeah,
you start doing it, then if you like it, keep going for it. And I
yeah.
guess if it's not your thing, some people do feel more comfortable to just be players and sideman. But I think if you want to have your own artist career, which I love both being a front man and leading a band and also being a sideman for other people. But that front man, I have a band thing means I'm writing music. And that's
Mhm.
why I want to be a front man is because I want to be out there playing my own music.
Yeah, that's really cool. I actually had a question that kind of goes off of that, but you sort of
Cool.
partly answered it. Have you ever felt like at any point that people don't give you enough credit because a lot of the time on bigger stages, you are not necessarily the front man in that scenario? Like, let's say playing with like Clairo, like you're not like on the bill, I guess. So do you feel
Totally.
you ever get like
Yeah.
undersold in that way?
I think so. I think you kind of also you're signing up for that role anyway. So I think you
Right.
have to like in a way like humble yourself to not have that ego of needing to be in the spotlight, needing to be recognized,
Hmm.
but knowing you're important and hopefully so getting appreciation from the artist you're working for so that you keep want to keep working for them. Otherwise, if you're
Yeah.
not feeling appreciated, then are you not being appreciated or do you need to get your ego in check?
Right.
Which is
Right.
it? So, but also I think I have a little bit of an advantage being a saxophone player as my main instrument because it's a very shiny thing to add
Yeah.
to a band. And
Yeah.
like when there's a saxophone solo, people are like, "Wow, that's
Yeah, it was
cool.
so funny.
I
I
love
loved
that."
being in the pit for that show. Every time you would start playing, everyone was like, "Whoa!"
Whoa. Yeah, it's such a fun thing. And
Yeah,
I definitely felt like on the Claire tour, she announces us to the crowd and I
yeah.
definitely feel like I get my, love from the audience and I would receive a lot of DMs from people that were at shows like
Mhm.
giving me a lot of appreciation and everything. So, yeah, I'd say it's situational based. I'd say with a lot of artists I've felt very appreciated and very like, having my moments to shine, which feels really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was really impressed by how much love that Claire gave to all the performers on stage. I really liked that.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's really nice that I've got all those shiny moments.
yeah,
Feels good. Yeah.
I guess because we're on this sort of train, you've collaborated with a ton of people, but who have you not collaborated with that you'd like to collaborate with? Who's your dream collaboration?
Mm. I I've been saying recently that I'd really like to start collaborating with more elders, right? Legends that might not be here for much longer.
Mhm.
So some of those would probably be like Herbie Hancock
Yeah,
and Shaka Khan.
sounds
Yeah. So like
beautiful.
those would probably be two crazy dream gigs for me.
Yeah,
Stevie Wonder, I mean, that'd be crazy.
wow.
Um, but yeah, also, there's other people that not as shiny and big or somebody like Shabaka Hutchings, who's a friend of mine who has asked me to come and do gigs that I haven't been able to yet, but
Mhm.
collaborators in which I feel like I could really learn from is something I'd love to do and be a part of and be around.
Yeah. I always thought it was really interesting, like even just like playing with other people, not even like writing the music necessarily, that there's a lot to be learned from just like someone giving you like, here's my song, I want you to play it with me. There's something that you can
Absolutely.
really like learn from that. I think that
Absolutely.
I had a really a more uh I guess personal question about that, but I saw this great clip of I think it was you uh Claire, Dijon, McGee, and like a bunch of people in like a trailer playing that like Ronnie
Yeah.
Cooder song. I was like, oh my God, that's gorgeous. But
Yay.
have you ever, like, especially somebody like Dijon who makes really, really, really like vulnerable music, does it ever get like kind of scary, like jamming with somebody like that who's like, this is so personal, like I don't want to feel like I'm intruding on anything, or like, am I doing this how he hears it in his brain, or like, I don't know. I hopefully you can see where I'm coming from with that,
Yeah,
but
I see what you're saying. I think um for me, when I play, I always try to bring like a very like my raw essence, like my passion, my heart. Like I
mhm.
play with like a lot of like, ugh, here it
Yeah,
is for you.
yeah,
And I feel like in a way it's kind of similar to what Dijon is doing, only mine doesn't always have words. I've started to do some more lyrical things
mhm,
with singing, but in
right,
terms of what he's doing. And actually, Dijon and I really connected a lot on that tour. But I think being around people that are vulnerable and raw and want to really get into some gut-wrenching things is what I want to be around. Like I
yeah,
want more of that. I've definitely done so many gigs that are soul-sucking, and so like this is not
mhm,
it. And so when you meet those people, it is rare. It is like
yeah,
not everyone has the vulnerability and courage to go there and explore those spaces.
for sure.
Um, but I felt like in that moment, like that video you saw, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm supposed to be here. Like these
Yeah,
are people that I want to, you know,
yeah.
get into what they're getting into and everything. And we actually ended up doing that live on their set. That was like
Oh,
the last day of the reset tour,
yeah,
and that was in Nashville. And so for Dijon's set, he had us come up and like play that with him and everything.
that's
It was
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, I love that video so much. But yeah, that's such an interesting thing you brought up. Like, especially I think because I absolutely adore how like straightforward and raw he is with the way that he makes music. And also people like McGee's playing in the background is also that sort of like, like it's got the
Yeah,
fight to it. I
exactly.
absolutely adore
You
that.
don't always hear that from those instruments, right? A voice
Yeah.
or a guitar, you know what I mean? Like you can get that with this. I feel like that's why I love saxophone so much is because it's similar to it's pulls to a certain depth of emotion that I think meets that
Mhm.
kind of level of like, we're going there.
Yeah, yeah. But you're so right. It is such a rare thing to find that, like, I personally haven't met anybody who is quite outwardly like that. So I had that curiosity, but just hearing people like that, I was like, I just wonder what it's like.
Yeah, there's a reason why it draws people in, right? Like people, there's so much fake things out there,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So we want to bring in the real gut-wrenching emotions that'll get people to feel it and maybe heal or like be seen in a certain way and be like, "Oh my God, that's exactly how I've felt before." And like,
yeah. I love that. I guess back to the more like silly questions. Do you associate yourself with any of your many instruments more than others, or is it just like, yeah, I have all these many, many instruments? Because I know you're kind of known for your saxophone, but do
yeah,
you kind of have a certain connection with any other instruments more than others?
yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because I've often, I mean, I spent the most time with saxophone, but it even playing different saxophones feels different for me. Like if I play alto or tenor or soprano,
Hmm.
like I feel like a multi-personality person.
Okay, yeah,
Like reaching for each one, like what's it going to be? Do I want to be in this mood or do I want to reach there? And that goes across the board for like when I sit at the piano, which I have a lot of love for. And then flute is also an instrument I'm super connected to. I love the flute for many reasons. One, I just feel like I enter a really primal space. It's one of the most like flute and drum is like the most original instruments that you can find like from ancient civilizations.
right.
So I feel like there's just this tapping into, I don't know, this crazy lineage of the past and the present and the future. I also love that it's very convenient to take anywhere I want,
Yeah, that makes
which
sense.
is really why I often favor the flute when I go out and explore, and I love to be in nature playing my instruments. So the
Yes,
flute
I've
is the
seen so
one
many
that,
clips of you doing that. It's
yeah, the
awesome.
flute comes with me a lot of places because it can fit in my bag, and it's so fun because I'm like now a collector of flutes. My favorite thing to do and spend my money on is to go some country and find where the flutes are and just start to add to my flute collection. I probably have like, I don't know, 25 flutes or something just from different
Wow.
places, different types of flutes, they're different scales, they're different tunings. Yeah, it depends on the mood that I'm in, but I definitely feel like certain instruments call me at certain times
Hmm.
and heal certain parts of me or help me express myself in a certain way.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like because there's just certain things that it's a lot harder to do on different instruments. Like if you're feeling a
hmm
certain way, you can't always like pull that out of
No.
an
And I think there's
instrument.
times when I like wish I could like shred on a guitar. Like I can play
Right.
some acoustic guitar, but I was like, dang, if I could just
Yeah.
what would happen? I could put some distortion on it. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But we have other things we
I
can do.
totally relate to that. I've started on, well, I guess I'm most comfortable with piano, and I've had to like teach myself guitar as I've started writing music because I was like, but this is so much more like I can bring this places. I don't have
hmm
to like own a massive piano to do all this and like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. The portability is super nice when it comes to instruments for sure.
yeah. Do you have a favorite fancy flute that you get?
Ooh, that depends. Recently, I've been most drawn to my Cana flute, which
Hmm.
is from Argentina.
Oh, cool.
So that's been it's when you play more straight down, more like a shakuhachi embouchure, but
Okay.
it's like smaller and light. So that's been a really fun one. I do have a really special shakuhachi too from Japan that I
Cool.
got a year ago.
It's awesome.
And soon I have someone sending me bansuris from India, which I'm
Ooh,
looking forward to going into for those.
those are
Yeah.
cool. I know you kind of came out of the Portland area, and do you think it was like a because there's quite a sort of jazz music scene in Portland. How do you feel like that compares to being a musician in LA?
Yeah. I mean, it's way more people in LA, so the
Right.
circles are greater and wider. But I really have such a special place in my heart for the Portland musicians, and of course, like for the show at Mississippi on December 21st, like I use a Portland-based band because there are so many people that can just play at such a high caliber, and then I love, 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 love their artistry. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of, I think Portland's, more just like you've got that closer knit scene, you got that tight
Yeah.
community. And I grew up, you know, coming into Portland Tuesday nights to go to Jimmy Mac's, which used to be like Portland's main jazz club,
Yeah.
and sit
Yeah.
in with like the Portland legends, Renato Caranto and
Mhm.
Mel Brown's whole
Yes,
scene.
Mel Brown. Oh my
So
God.
we love. But when I was in 2015, I put out an album called PDX Soul, which actually
Right.
honors like my Portland roots, and
Yeah.
it's a 17-piece like funk band with all Portland musicians and featuring like LaRonda Steele, who,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lo Steele's her daughter, who's going to be opening the show
Yeah.
um on the 21st. And so yeah, I love the tightness and the close community, but also LA is really fun because you're just constantly meeting new people and it's people are coming through that you're inspired by and want to connect with. It's almost overwhelming at times.
I was gonna
There's a
ask
lot of
about that.
people,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people I like run into or I've reconnected with or this and that and we keep trying to meet up to jam
Hmm.
and either one of us is never in town or something like
Yeah.
this. It could take a whole year to actually meet up with someone and do anything. And
Yeah.
but it's such a beautiful place. It's growing and changing, of course, just like Portland. New venues are coming up that help bring the community together.
Hmm.
A cool thing that I'm looking forward to is like the main jazz or like one of the most prolific jazz clubs in LA closed during the pandemic and is now they found a new space and are going to be reopening next year. So all these cool things that could hopefully bring community together. But one thing that I do really like about the Port or the LA scene is that right? LA is like very year-round outdoor city. You know,
Yeah.
you can just be outside all year. And so there's lots of community events that happen like outside that I
Mm,
really love about LA. And it's like, let's go listen to music under a tree in the daylight. And it's this like
yeah.
monthly series where they have different bands playing outside, or a lot of people have set up cool backyard spaces that they can host concerts and bands. So a lot of like outdoor house concerts, which is really a cool way to bring people together and find new bands that you like and new musicians and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I was gonna ask, is it like, especially being in, I guess, the entertainment capital of
right.
almost the world, I guess. Like
Yeah, it's a lot.
it,
It is a lot.
yeah, if being around that many artists can be kind of overwhelming, but you've kind of answered that already.
Yeah, totally. But I think it's a great scene to tap into. Even if people don't want to live there, it'd be good to come and spend time there. I think a lot of like doors opened up for me once I moved to LA. And there's a lot of ways I feel like you can more choose like how you make money because it or for me personally, like I felt when I lived in New York, which, you know, I'm sure people figure out different ways to do New York too, but I was super locked into like the wedding band event scene. Like
Mm,
that's how I was
yeah.
able to like stay afloat and make money as a musician.
Mm.
And that's talk about being underappreciated. Like
Yeah,
that's when
yeah,
you really feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? It like this is not what I envisioned coming out of Berkeley and like, you know what I
totally.
mean?
Yeah,
So when I moved to LA 6 years ago, I like set it very like I made a promise to myself. I was like, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna say wedding, like take any wedding gigs, which everyone, like, if you have to do that, no, I'm not like bashing that. But for
yeah,
me
yeah,
personally, I had spent so many years doing it that I knew like I eventually had to start saying no, or the other windows and doors of opportunity weren't going to open for me. So I
totally.
kind of had to like make that choice. And I was like, I would rather take bar $50 bar gigs with some epic musician homies than go play a 4 hour wedding gig for
Yeah,
$600. I literally
totally.
that's where I was at the point of like saving my soul.
Yeah,
So that's what I started doing when I got to LA. And then a lot of I didn't play a wedding. I got offered. I definitely got offered and it was like, "Ooh, like no, I told myself I would not do this even
mhm.
though they're like, you know, waving the check in my face." And I'm like, I just know that I have to I'm meant for something else in this path. And luckily then yeah, some touring opportunities started to come up and just like going to house parties, meeting certain people that then like, you know, this and that, I want to record for this project. And like certain things just started happening in a different way that I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad to see that there's another way to do the music industry. You
Right.
know, it's just still like you never know what's coming up next, which is
Mhm.
always the thing. Yeah, unless you decide to be a teacher and you like have this, you know, da 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 da. But it's still like now when's the next tour gonna come? When's the next recording gig gonna come? It's like yeah,
Yeah,
it's a crazy life.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, how do you kind of not compromise yourself when it's such an unreliable industry to kind of be in?
Hmm.
When it's like,
Yeah.
I really don't want to play this gig, but I have to.
I
Like,
have to, and then we do sometimes, and we do this and kind of yeah, what do you pay your dues, they say, but it got to the point where I was like, I would rather pour wine at a wine bar and like go write my music and put all my energy into my own artistry
mhm,
to like keep nurturing that because it comes to a point when it's like if you're going and doing these gigs that you just feel totally uninspired on and you're like putting all that time, it's like you get off the stage and you're not it's hard to be inspired to go pick up your instrument. You just played
totally.
for 5 hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like I don't know. Luckily I didn't have to go and do that bar gig, but
yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? It just like came to a point where I was like I want to just like for my music time, I want it to be like really soul rewarding. Like I want to be feeling like I'm fulfilling my purpose, not like it's a job. I want it to always be what I love first, you know?
yeah. Of course. There's plenty that we've covered that has been so rewarding to like have this conversation with you. I'm really glad you decided to, take this interview. I feel like it was kind of out of the blue, but
No, thank you for reaching out.
yeah. So if you'd like to leave, I guess, the radio with anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, come on out on December 21st. It's a Saturday in Mississippi Studios. The show starts at 8 p.m., Pete and Low, and then MAE SUN will play the fourth annual Winter Solstice Party. It's going to be so fun.
Amazing. Thank you so much.